Good evening, everyone. This is Charlotte here from Enriching Environments for your Top Tip Tuesday Masterclass on Tuesday the 20th of September. And I'm going to give you all a few moments as you come on. Hello, everybody who's joining. Thank you for joining. Hi, David. Thank you for joining. Hello. And hi, Rasha. As we begin this evening's session, this is a really Asil sent me a nice little DM before this session, as she does before every session actually. Hi Tanya. Asil sent me a message saying, oh my goodness, it's like you live in my home. The interrupting topic that we're going to talk about this evening is one that's it's really tricky, isn't it? Hi, Hasil, that's you with your hearts and your 100%, isn't it? So this evening, we are going to talk about interrupting. A friend of mine, this was inspired by a friend of mine who has a 10, a 9 and a 6-year-old. Hi, Hans. And her children, so older boy and then 2 younger girls. And I saw her a couple of weeks ago and she said, please help me. The interruptions hi Sarah, the interruptions are really hard, and particularly my 10-year-old gets really frustrated and really aggressive when the younger child interrupts him, and then he doesn't feel heard, and then when he gets angry he'll get rough with her or aggressive, and she then just goes into the spiral. So what can I do? So I thought, I know, Top Tip Tuesday is the answer to that. So where should we begin? Let's begin, as we always do, by taking a moment to breathe in and close our eyes if you feel comfortable to do so, if it's safe for you to do so. And let's just take a moment to breathe in and just set your intention for your session this evening. What would you like to take from the session? Breathe into your heart. Is your heart open right now? Are you ready to receive this? Are you ready to look at what is best for your children, what is best for yourself? Can you feel into and know what's best for your children, what's best for yourself, what your children are capable of? What's your intention for this transmission this evening? Just breathe into that for a moment and feel grounded. Do what you want to do. I'm sitting cross-legged, so I'm sort of pushing my knees down and do a few neck rolls, neck stretches and shoulder rolls. We all need it at the end of the day. I spent a large part of my day in IKEA today, which is never a place that we want to spend a large part of any day. Hey? Even though it was quiet because it was school time and midweek, it was hard. It was hard going. I was setting up a Montessori elementary homeschooling pod at the beginning of next week, and so Olivia and Harry and I were doing that. Harry's been poorly today, so he was in the trolley sort of snoozing, dozing on and off. He was a real trooper despite the hours we spent in IKEA. So we're getting close to starting our elementary home pod, which is really exciting, and just the last few bits and pieces that we needed to get today is what we were doing. So I hope you've all had a good day. I know lots of you who've joined have got one or more than one child, so you'll be feeling tired, I'm sure, from your day. And let's dive in. So the interruptions that help. My child keeps interrupting all the time, all conversations, whether it's me, adult, whether it's when we have friends over, it's their siblings, their friends, and everyone gets annoyed. So what do we do when our child is interrupting? So firstly, what I want to do is zoom out and talk about the expectations we can and we can't have, the realistic and unrealistic expectations of what children are capable of in terms of deferring their wishes and waiting their turn to speak and all of those things. These are practice skills. These are skills that need to be practiced. These skills that need to be developed and honed and cultivated and supported in our children. They are not going to get it. They have no impulse control. Young children have very little impulse control, and so when something comes into their mind, they have to say it straight away. So it is a normal, natural part of development that children interrupt a lot. It can be really, really frustrating, particularly as they get older and their sort of voices get louder, and what they want to say is usually more long-winded. And I found that certainly myself with my own children and in the classroom. If a toddler or a preschooler, baby, toddler, preschooler interrupts, it's often just for a word or two, or for a cuddle, some type of connection that we're able to give and then continue with our conversation. As our children get older, I know from my daughter Olivia, if she's got something to say and she interrupts, then it can be a good 5 minutes. I mean, she's a really good storyteller, but it can be a good 5 minutes before we can kind of get back on track. And but as she is older, as she is 7 coming up to 8, I can have expectations for her to wait a bit longer and to hold these thoughts in her brain, which is one of the things I say to her. So what we can and we can't expect. Toddler, babies and preschoolers, they are going to interrupt. Particularly babies and toddlers, they are going to scream and do everything possible. They need that connection. They need to be heard. And we can't expect them to wait. There's no type of discipline element at all that is at all appropriate in this for very young children. They won't. They don't have the capacity to wait and defer their wishes. So in terms of the interruption thing with young children, very young children, what we do is through the environment and through our general interactions with them, that is how we teach them deferring their wishes and waiting and being able to deferring the wishes and waiting and being patient for something else to happen, for someone else to go in front of them or whatever it might be. That's something that's cultivated through environment. It can't be taught to young children anyway, and it certainly can't be taught by words. So better to prepare an environment where a child has the opportunity to defer, has the opportunity to defer their wishes, and to take turns with the sibling, for example, where they have opportunities to practice patience and all of those skills that take a long time to cultivate. Interrupting is just one piece of a bigger puzzle, and our children learning these really, really important skills. And I think we can all admit as adults, and I completely include myself in this, is that we often interrupt our friends if we're having a heated conversation, or even a heated conversation, we often will interrupt our friends, we'll interrupt our partners, we'll interrupt our work colleagues when they're saying something, when they're in mid-flow, when we're in mid-conversation and it's not our turn. So we do it as well. So we definitely cannot expect more of our children that we don't follow ourselves. So realistic and unrealistic expectations. Like most things in childhood and parenting, as our children mature, their brains develop, as they get a little bit older, they are able to wait, they are able to defer their wishes, they're able to practice a little bit of patience and hold a thought in their head rather than having that impulse, that reflex to say it out loud all the time, everything that they need, and expect that they will be listened to all the time. That all comes with maturity. To give you an idea of ages of when you can start expecting that, where it actually works. Maybe Harry's 5.5 now. It's only really this year that he's got it in terms of interrupting, and I'm not saying that he doesn't interrupt ever, but in terms of where he's really being able to wait if someone else is saying something, and wait his turn, or wait for someone else to speak before he makes his point or asks his question or states whatever he wants to state. It's really, it's the age of 5 for Harry. So if we're expecting 2 and 3-year-olds to do this, to not interrupt, it's very, very unlikely that it would happen. So firstly, our expectation is that throughout the early years, babies, toddlers and early years, this is common. So don't stress about it from that sense. Let me take a sip, and then we can talk about a few tips that can support our children into fewer interruptions. As always, it's the energy that we bring to things, it is the awareness that we bring to things, it is the energy that we bring to situations, which very often will dictate, it's the intention we bring to situations will often dictate the outcome of those situations, of those scenarios, of those things that occur. So knowing that when we are, I don't know, at a play date with lots of other children, and lots of other dynamics, for example, lots of children of different dynamics, different characters, different personalities, and say they're an elementary group of children, 5-year-olds and over, it is completely normal and understandable that there will be every few minutes a different interruption of he did this or she did that and she said that to me and that was really kind and that person called me this and that person called me that. That type of interruption, which is seemingly constant, is completely normal, and so we can adjust our expectations of that, and going in with that knowledge can really help a lot of stress around it, knowing that we're going to be interrupted. When we are with our children from a very, very young age, ensuring that they are seen and heard, ensuring that their voices are heard within our family is really, really, really important. And this ties into a bigger picture of our child's role in our family. So that could be a little, if you've got your journal with you, you've got a piece of paper, write it down. What is our child's role within the family? What is a child or our child's role within the family? Who do you really see them as? Do you see them as the boss, or do you see them as someone who should obey us, or the parents or caregivers? And that's really can be an indicator of how we feel about interruptions and all these normal childlike behaviours. So what is the role of a child in a family? Are we there to wait on them hand and foot and do everything for them? Or are they children should be seen and not heard? That awful expression. Who are they? What are they within the family? What are they within the structure of the family? And what role are they there for? Are they there to be free and us lead them into their power? Or are they there to be obedient and follow what's right for us and what our beliefs are? So those are just a few little questions, a few little journal prompts, which often can unlock a little bit of awareness in us about why we can react in certain ways when our children behave in ways that annoy us or frustrate us. So going back to, certainly I digressed a little bit there. Ensuring the voices of our children are heard, are valued and heard, and our children are seen and heard. What's a really interesting aspect of this is a child, zooming out to big picture again, if we have our homes prepared in a way for autonomy, for the child being able to meet their own needs from a very, very young age, and by very young age I mean a crawling baby. A crawling baby can crawl to a shelf and get what it is that they need, rather than us giving toys to them. A simple ordered environment, one shelf with 3 toys on it, one bookshelf with 3 books on it that our child can crawl over or wiggle over or roll over to reach from a very, very young age. That sends a seriously strong and powerful message that they are seen and heard in our home, that what their preferences, what their needs are important. And when a child feels seen and heard in that way, and is a valued member of the home, then this contributes to their overall well-being, their overall sense of self, and their overall feeling, and this is really big picture stuff, of being valued and being respected and being loved. If we have a child who is doesn't have what they need at their fingertips, then they're going to have to make more noise in order to be seen and to be heard. They can't meet their own needs themselves. And one of the human tendencies, every single universal human tendencies, is for self-actualization, to be the best that they can be, to improve and to grow in autonomy, to become independent, to become autonomous. That's a natural progression that every animal, every mammal will go through. And so we can, I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Do you know, I've completely lost my train of thought. I can't remember. So yes, simply by, I think I'll have to circle back to that bit. So simply preparing a home where they don't have to scream to get their needs met, where they can get what they need, whether it's a drink of water or the toy that they need, or get dressed without anyone's help. You know, they can get dressed on their own without any help. From about 2 years old, if they are given the clothes that are easy to put on, if they're given clothes that are accessible, and obviously everything's going back to front and upside down for that year between 2 and 3, but they get the hang of it. But a child whose needs are met in that way, in a very, very simple way, having things simple, ordered, and accessible, that is the child that doesn't need to scream and have outbursts to get their needs met. They can see what they want, and then when they come to us, they're coming to us from a different place, not from a place that they're already frustrated. They are coming to us from a place of power, as it were. They're already in their own power when they have everything that they need. That was a huge digression. I managed to completely lose myself in that as well. So that was the bigger picture of ensuring our children's voices are seen and heard within the home. Because when they feel valued, when they know that they belong there, this topic of belonging is one that I've been talking a lot about recently, then their voices are heard and they feel valued, as we all do in any type of family or community or work organisation. So the validation is a huge piece. Yeah, we were on point 2, which is tips that can support our child. So the validation is really, really important when our child, and we can do this from a young age. If, for example, you have you're having a conversation with a friend, and then your little one keeps coming over. I don't know, your 3-year-old, and they keep coming over and interrupting, and it's sort of every 30 seconds, and it's getting a bit much, and it's getting a bit frustrating because you can't actually get on with the conversation you're having with your friend. You can say things in a really, really loving way, like, I can see you've got so much you want to share with me. I'm speaking to my friend at the moment, but you want to speak to me at the same you want to speak to me at the same time. So say what you see. It's not it's a very gentle way of validation, just saying exactly what's going on at the moment, which is true. I'm trying to speak and you're trying to speak at the same time, and that's hard because we can't both speak at the same time. Just say what you see. That often can start planting things in a child's mind of the interruption and having this idea, because they cannot remember in the early years there is no concept of being able to see things from a different perspective. This was a Swiss psychologist called Jean Piaget who did an experiment called the 3 mountains test. Jean Piaget was actually a student of Dr. Montessori later, but he invented this test called the 3 mountains task, where he was testing if a child, it was an experiment to see if young children could see things from different people's perspectives. And basically that they can't. That skill of being able to understand someone else's perspective doesn't come till later. It's developed between the age of 2.5, 3 and 6 years old. So hence, when we are being constantly interrupted by our child over and over again, they don't know that that's they don't know that they're doing that. They don't know the impact it's doing because they have no idea how the world is from your perspective. They can't, and particularly a toddler, they can't see that. They see everything only, and we call it in child developmental, we call it egocentric, from their own perspective. So what we can do to support them as they get older, the 3 and the 4-year-olds, is, as I said, point out, you really, really want to say something. You're so excited. You see that I'm speaking to my friend Emma right now, and you've just got so much to say, you just can't keep it in. That type of language. So they start to gain this awareness of, oh, actually, I want to speak, but Mama's already speaking at the same time. And this is very, very gentle. This isn't like any type of discipline or any type of lecture. It's just a really simple way of introducing it. And then as they get older, we can be more expressive in it, and we can be and very very clear with it. So you will, and if your child attends a Montessori classroom, there's this awesome technique we do in a Montessori classroom that you can bring into the home. So in the CASA age group, from 3 to 6 years old, what children are taught that when they want to speak to an adult, they want to speak to the guide, and he or she is already occupied, then you go and you place a hand on the guide's shoulder. And then what the guide will do, perhaps she's working with another child. She will either tap her on the hand or give the child a little smile to acknowledge that she knows that child, or he knows that child is there, and she will continue with her work. And then when he or she, when the guide has finished, she will then be able to turn to the child, thank them for waiting, and then the child can ask their question or say whatever they wanted to say. But for us, that's a really concrete way of children learning very, 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 very gradually about, hi Emma, about deferring their wishes for a little bit, about just waiting until it is their turn to speak. And this is really powerful because it's really, really concrete for a child. They've got the hand on the guide's shoulder, and this is what I do in the home with Olivia and Harry, and it works really, really well. But as I said, circling back to at the beginning, Harry has only got this concept of not interrupting and being able to put the hand on my shoulder when I'm speaking to someone else and wait. This year, when he's 5, it's not something I could expect a 3-year-old to do. I mean, maybe some 3-year-olds could do it, but this is a skill that's developed and developed and developed. So for everyone who's just joined, what you can do, and what we do in a Montessori classroom, is if you're having a conversation and you don't want it to be interrupted, what we do is we teach our child, say, when I'm speaking and I'm not able to give you my full attention, what you can do is come and put your hand on my shoulder, and I'll put my hand on top of yours, and that will let you know that I know you're there. And then as soon as I'm available, I'm going to be able to give you my full attention. And it's going to take practice and practice and practice. So you're going to tell them exactly the steps. You're going to put your hand on my shoulder. I'm going to smile at you or put my hand on yours to acknowledge that I know you're there. And then you're going to wait until I finish my sentence, and then I'm going to give you my full attention. And using that type of language, or, you know, I'm giving my full attention to my friend at the moment. We're just going to have a cup of tea and a chat, and then I'm going to give you my full attention afterwards. All of this language that makes it more real to a child, more concrete to a child, what actually is happening. So the hand on the shoulder, as I said, that's what we practice in a Montessori classroom, probably many other classrooms as well. And I've just started doing that with success this year with Olivia at 7.5, almost 8, and Harry at 5.5. So it comes in time, and it's lots and lots and lots of practice. I can remember actually trying to introduce that at home maybe a couple of years ago when Harry was 3, and it just did not work. He was not ready for it, and I think actually Olivia probably wasn't ready for it at that time when she was 5. But this year is the year that it's clicked for them. So it does work, and it takes lots and lots of practice. And then the third stage is when you've got older children who are interrupting a lot. So when they are in this stage of being able to see things from other people's perspective. So like I said, the Swiss, I think it was Swiss biologist actually, Jean Piaget, did this experiment called the 3 mountains task, where he wanted to work out if children can see other people's perspectives. And in this very simple experiment he did, he worked out that young children cannot see from another's perspective, and that is a skill that's developed between 2.5, 3, and 5 and 6 years old. So with your 5, 6, 7-year-olds, what you can start doing is pointing out when other people are talking and they interrupt each other, or a friend interrupts. Notice when other people interrupt as well. So if I remember when in Olivia's old elementary class, and her guide, they were having a circle time, and after the circle time I remember her saying to Olivia, oh, did you notice that quite often when this person speaks, then she's often interrupted by everybody else, and just drawing their attention to things like that. So not making it so personal as being you're interrupted or they're being interrupted, but just noticing in other situations, in friends or family, oh, he was speaking and I think he's got something to say, he's being interrupted now. Or there's, hi Hetal, hello everyone who's coming on. So notice when other people do it. And you know what the last thing I'm going to say, more than anything else, to support our children, is us to model it. If we can do it, if we can not interrupt them when they're speaking, if we can try not to interrupt others when they're speaking, when we are with friends, when we're with family members, when we're with them, can we hold what we want to say inside? Quite a fun way of for our children as they from about 4 or 5 onwards, is if we want to help them with interrupting, we can say, oh, I know you've validated them, I know you've got something really, really important to say and you just can't wait to see it. Can you see if you can hold it in your brain, with lightness and fun and humour? Are you going to hold it in your brain? You've got to see, and then, press your fingers to your temples or something. So can you see if you can hold it in your brain for a few minutes more? I just need to finish this, I'm going to be right with you. And then it becomes more playful. It's not this intensity of stop interrupting me. It's more the focus on what the child can do to support themselves in waiting that little bit longer, in deferring their wishes, in waiting for their turn, because these will all come with maturity and beautiful role modelling from us and their friends and other members of their family. It will come in time, but mostly it comes later than we think. As I say, 5-year-olds, we can really, in a classroom environment, they will probably learn earlier. But if they're at home with us, particularly with us, their parents, it's going to be harder for them. And with siblings as well. And I notice Olivia and Harry, they've only just recently, past couple of months, get really angry with each other if one of them interrupts them speaking. So and the great thing is they're at this stage where they're ready for the techniques. They're ready to learn how to do it in a different way. They're ready in that stage of brain development where they can hold on, they can defer their wishes a bit, and they can hold things in their brain. So try that, which is a bit fun and a bit playful. As I said, they're going to get there in time. When we model, when we trust, when we support them with love, they are going to get there in time. All of these things are ironed out as we go along, and it's really, really frustrating when we're in the moment, but no, it does pass. Try the hand on the shoulder to wait. It's just beautiful. It works really, really well. And also what I do with Olivia and Harry, I'm trying to, and I don't always remember, of course, is I do the same for them. If Olivia and Harry are having a conversation or playing or something, I will do that. I will go up and put my hand on one of their shoulders and wait until they turn to me and acknowledge me there and essentially give me the opportunity to speak. So I will behave to them in the way that I want them to behave to me and others. And I think that is the greatest teacher we can be, if we actually behave in the way that we want them to. That's more powerful than anything else we can say. So shall we circle back to the beginning and our intention that we set, that we wanted from this transmission that we wanted from this live, think back to what your intention was, how you wanted to open your heart and feel and know the best for yourself and for your children. Reflect upon that for a moment. What have you taken from this evening? What resonated with you? What feels valuable for you in the home or in your classroom? And just hold that for a moment as we inhale and exhale. And I'll just leave you with 3 key points. Realistic expectations about our child's interrupting. It comes with time. Under the age of 4, there's going to be constant interruptions. Secondly, validate. When you see they really want to say something and there's lots of interruptions, validate. Literally narrate what's happening. Oh, you're so excited, you can't wait. You see I'm talking to my friend, but you just can't wait. You've got so much you want to say. Narrate actually what's happening so they become aware that they're doing it themselves. Because if they're under 5, 6, they won't be aware. They're not able to see another person's perspective, so they won't be aware of what's going on. So drawing their attention to it in a really gentle, fun, playful way. Ask them, be playful, ask them to keep it in their head really, 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 really tightly, just for a few more minutes, and then they can tell you. Then you can then you'll give your full attention. Invite them to place a hand on your shoulder when you're already in conversation, and invite them to do this with their friends, with family friends, with other adults, with their siblings, and you do that to them as well. As parents and caregivers, we must do that. If our child is speaking and we want to come into that conversation and say something to them or ask something of them, we must do that. Place our hand on their shoulder, show them that respect, model what we want them to do it ourselves. And then, yes, just draw their attention to when other people are interrupting and other people's reactions as well. If it's got to a stage in your home where it's really, really frustrating, then it's going to be really, and they're older children, so over the age of 6 or 8, just draw their attention to every time it happens and how frustrated the other person's getting. And then you can work on these techniques of keeping it in your head in a playful way, or the hand on the shoulder. And the hand on the shoulder is really beautiful, because then what happens is there's an instant connection there because there's a physical contact, and then you've acknowledged them, they're there. And then when you do turn to them, when you are able to speak to them after you've finished your conversation or your sentence, then give them your full attention. And that amazing connection, there's a beautiful connection that happens in those moments where they've waited, and you just feel in your heart they've been waiting and they've been patient for so long, and then that you see their heart open when we keep our word. You see their heart open when they're like, yeah, I was patient, I waited, and now I've got mama's or papa's full attention. So it's a really beautiful thing that happens there. Thank you so much for joining this evening. Before you all go, before we finish, I would love to talk to you about the Montessori Mission, which is my first book. Meant to in the beginning, but we got straight in. This is the Montessori Mission, which is a reflection of the diversity and richness of Montessori all around the world. As you can see from the front cover, we have 10 Montessori educators from all over the world. We have Trisha Molchino from the Cochiti Pueblo tribe in New Mexico. We have Nisaiba Makadam, who is a powerful voice for Islamic Montessori in Malaysia. We have Pilar, originally from Mexico, now living in the United States, and she's homeschooling pod of elementary children. We have Prudence from Lagos in Nigeria, who is a really powerful voice for Montessori in Africa, in Nigeria and in Africa. So this book is it's based on a podcast series called The Montessori Mission that I recorded last year, and I asked each 10 of these incredibly diverse and incredible guests the same 10 questions about Montessori, what their vision was, what they hope for the future, and what they see their part is in Montessori in the future. At the end of each chapter we have poems, songs, and artwork, photos from the culture of each of our guests. This is Nisaiba Makadam, a beautiful classroom in Malaysia. This is the poem that she chose, which was from Rumi. And then we have a reflective practice. So what I've done is all of the interviews from each guest, I've drawn out what for me were the most powerful points they made, the most powerful quotes, and I put them into a reflective practice, which means that then we can go into our own reflection, our own self-reflection often on different aspects of our parenting, different aspects of education, different aspects of where we see our growth is. So there's a reflective practice, and there's journaling, embodiment and creativity for each of those reflective practices. You are going to love this book. As educators, lots of feedback I've had from educators saying that it's making them reflect on their own Montessori mission and their collective Montessori mission, and from parents, they have been really interested. They are really interested in seeing how Montessori is working around the world. Montessori can be for everyone. We need Montessori to be people to feel that there is a reflection of themselves and a vision of the outer world, of the outside world as well. And what I really sought to do in this book is allow people to see the mirror and the window, so to see themselves reflected in their lived experience in this book, and a window to the outside world. So this is available on Kindle and paperback from Amazon, wherever you are in the world. You can go to amazon.com and it'll direct you. If you're in the UK, then go to amazon.co.uk, but everywhere else you can order your copies from amazon.com. Thank you so much for joining me this Tuesday evening. Interruptions. Let me know how you get on with this. This is going to be uploaded on all the platforms as per usual. Go to my Enriching Environments shop if you are looking for online programs, workshops, or working with me one-on-one. Thank you so much for joining this evening. We had lots and lots of people. I'm just adding some more waves. Sorry I didn't keep up with everyone. Nada says, thanks a lot, Charlotte. Great tips as always. Thank you, Nada, for joining. I hope your two little girls are well. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks so much. Have a beautiful evening.